Hey everyone, it's Ryan from Crypto Vice. I want to take a moment and give you guys just some background on one of the things that I specialize in, which is Google search analysis. So understanding, what are people searching for on the internet? How often are they searching for particular keyword phrases? And then what do the trends look like? Does it increase certain months? Are there certain months out of the year where people are searching for certain phrases, maybe a little bit more than others? And then, what kind of information can we take from that to try to make an educated decision about a trade or maybe the long-term position of a token? So the first tool I want to look at is the Google Keyword Planner. So the Google Keyword Planner is a tool that Google provides for their pay-per-click customers. Okay, so if you've ever done a search on Google, you come in, you'll notice there's typically two spots on the page. The top portion will be, let me just do it so I can show you. Typically, the top portion of the page, usually three or four. Sometimes there might be zero, sometimes there might be one, two, three, four, whatever. Um, there will be ads. So these are obviously controlled. The way that people show up is obviously based on what is searched for, the keywords that they're trying to show for within their pay-per-click campaign. How well is the ad written? How relevant is it? How well does it match up to what I searched for up here? And then if I click through onto one of these, how relevant is the page that I land on? These are some different factors that Google looks at to determine who shows up, right? Why is Coinbase the first ad? Why is Broad Financial number two, et cetera, for the phrase, where do I buy Bitcoin? All of that, I mean, there's a lot of factors. If I knew the exact answer, right, I probably wouldn't be making these YouTube videos. Um, Google doesn't have a guide that necessarily says, hey, here's what you need to do to be number one on Google. They say these are the things that we like. If you do more of these things, you typically get rewarded. You show up better in the rankings. If you do things that we don't like, you'll be penalized and may not even be indexed or show at all. So just want to point out quickly, again, kind of a rant there, but generally when you do a search on Google, the top ads that you see will be that. There'll be ads. Below that, this is generally considered the organic section. This is a rich snippet here. But this is the organic section. So all of these results are based on relevancy. So when I said, where do I buy Bitcoin? Google found about 27 million results, 27 million different options to show us. And then they go through and they have to rank it. So they have to say, okay, who are we going to show number one, number two, number three, number four, et cetera, all the way to 27 million. So there is a lot of information that can be gleaned from this. Let's jump right into it. So the first thing that I want to look at will be Bitcoin. So let's look at Bitcoin. We'll also look at Ethereum, Ether. These are obviously the two market cap leaders. At the time of this video, Bitcoin is trading just over $4,000 and Ethereum just under 300 at 289. I want to pull this back over, and the way that this tool works is you start typing in a few different keywords that you want to search for. So I'll type in Bitcoin, BTC, Ethereum, Ether, ETH, type in Ether, crypto, cryptocurrency, maybe even throw in like a Litecoin or one that's real specific, maybe a Verge. Okay. All right. The next thing you'll notice down here, and I'm going to make my screen, I'm going to zoom in. I've got it kind of small. The next thing you'll notice here is it gives me some options on my targeting. When I search for these keywords, right, what I'm looking for is to say, how many times on Google are these keywords searched for? The other way to narrow this down is to say, how many times are these keywords searched for from a specific location? So I could say, the entire world. I could narrow that down to multiple countries. I could say, show me the United States and Canada. I could show me, say North America, any number of combinations of countries, cities, et cetera, et cetera. So for now, I think it makes sense just to leave it as all locations, at least all English searches. I'm going to look at Google and Google Search Partner. So a Google Search Partner is a company like AOL. And I should look at this. I haven't looked at it in a couple of years. I assume AOL is still a Google Search Partner. If you do a search on AOL, it'll say right in the search bar, this search is powered by Google. So it's really the same thing as doing a search on Google. Sometimes those results might be slightly different, but generally they're about the same. Um, I'm not going to go into too much of the weeds right now on negative keywords. We will look at search volume as an average of the last 12 months. So, and I'll explain that in a second. Next thing I do is click Get Ideas, and you'll notice that there's going to be a couple different boxes that load. So this first box up here is giving me an idea of the total number of searches across the last 12 months. So you can see it's increasing just about every month. At least there's a pretty clear upward trend from September of 2016 all the way through August of 2017. So this information here, not really valuable other than just kind of seeing the general increase. As we get into the specific keywords, this is where it'll start to make more sense. So here's what you're looking at. This first box here, these are the actual keywords that I typed in on the previous screen. The box below that, these will be ideas that Google gives us to say, hey, these, if you were running a pay-per-click campaign, these are other ideas or other keywords that you might also want to show for. These are relevant search results that we think you would also want to show for. So they're worth taking a look at. But let's just look at the top box here for a second. So Bitcoin, right, is saying on average, there's been 4,090,000 searches a month on Google for the last 12 months. Now, if I hover over that little graph icon there, you can see how search volume has changed for each of the last 12 months. And it has generally increased as a whole. A little bit of an interesting dip there from March of 2017 and April of 2017. If we looked into what was happening, I bet there'd be some other correlations that we could point out. But you can see starting in May, the searches on Google and our search partners has increased pretty significantly as opposed to the 8 months prior to that. So for Bitcoin, search volume has been increasing. I don't think there's going to be any kind of I think that's how, I think that's going to be the obvious trend to most of these as time goes on. User adoption's increasing, more and more people. Like, I'm no longer having to tell my friends, hey, have you heard of this amazing new thing called blockchain or Bitcoin? I'm actually having people ask me, hey, remember that thing you were telling me about? So it's obviously increasing, but there's still some great information that can be taken away from this. And I really think it has to do when you get into the individual variations of the name, right? Like, what are people searching for? Are they typing in Bitcoin, or are they typing in BTC? Are they typing in what's the best place to buy Bitcoin, or are they typing in where to buy Bitcoin, right? So I think when you look at all of these as a whole, and let me scroll down here just to give you an idea of how truly vast the variations of keywords are out there that you would want to look at if you were doing some kind of a search analysis. There's a ton of them out there. So if I was looking at this and I wanted to say, what is the true search volume of Bitcoin across, the last 12 months, it's not just the keyword Bitcoin. It's all of these different variations: Bitcoin trading, local Bitcoin, where to buy Bitcoin, how do I set up a Bitcoin wallet, best Bitcoin wallets. There's literally thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of relevant keywords that the average human being is searching for on search engine. So not everybody types in Bitcoin. Not everybody types in Bitcoin price, etc., or BTC price. So guys, this is just one tool. I don't know how deep I should go here. I'll go a little bit deeper. The number that you see here for suggested bid, you can hover over a lot of these if you're just starting out to get Google's explanation, but this is kind of the suggested bid to show on the first page if you're willing to pay to show up for that keyword. So the amount of money that you see here as a suggested bid does tell a little bit of a story too, right? You'll notice keywords typically like buy will be a little bit higher because businesses are willing to pay more because obviously they're converting a customer with a keyword like that as opposed to just Bitcoin or what is Bitcoin. Somebody that just might be looking for information. So I don't know if you guys can see that little icon that popped up in my screen, but I've got 20 seconds left of my free recording. Looks like I'm gonna have to upgrade this sucker. If you have any questions about Google search analysis or anything at all related to cryptocurrencies, reach out to us over at CryptoVice and we'd be happy to answer your questions.